In this video, I'm going to talk about probabilities, the chances, 1 in a million, 2 in a million, and the future. I hope you get a grip on this because it's so exciting. It may transform how you're thinking about everything in your life and what's possible, because you can break any odd. Any odd. Are you ready for this? Let's go. Welcome to Landria, Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through those fears and live an amazing life. I went for a run, so I'm wearing a little cap today. I have something very exciting for you today. I want to talk about probabilities and your chances, lottery, getting that job, getting out of poverty, getting healthy, anything, name it, anything in your life. I want to talk about that because my whole channel, my whole platform is about breaking through fear, and this is critical. I want you to think about this. Every probability exists. Every probability exists. It becomes a reality when it's chosen by something or someone. It becomes a reality. All right? I saw my little gecko out here, and I came out and he didn't run away so quickly, and I saw he had a fly. He was so happy he had a fly. That was a probability. That fly at that moment was going to get captured by that little gecko. That split second that all of that happened was a probability, and he made a choice. Things aligned for him. And I'm going to talk about this because fear is a barrier to you manifesting anything, and probabilities are created on that. Hear me out on this. You're going to want to listen to this video. Probabilities all exist at all times, past, present, and future. Our chances, our odds that we calculate are based on fear-based limiting choices that humanity's made. Therefore, when we say the chances of that are 1 in a million, I'll run one for you here in a minute, it's because everything that has been chosen up until that point has been limiting, has been tainted with our own thoughts and fears that make the impossible something that can't be done, right? The possible isn't being done because of fear, because we don't believe. Our beliefs are creating that. Therefore, our chances get skewed. This is when it can absolutely blow your mind. We talk about the chances of that happening are 1 in a million. Why are they 1 in a million? Because people haven't chosen it up until that point. I'll give you an example. If most people are afraid to go after certain things, and the majority of people live in fear and limitations, the collective consciousness places fear and limitations into the field that we're sharing here in this one particular experience. It goes beyond this, but in our matrix, it affects our direct reality here. Therefore, we skew the odds because we are creating limitations within it. Therefore, most people won't go after the impossible because the odds seem so great. The odds are great because the majority of people live in fear and they have limiting thoughts and they don't believe certain things can be done. Therefore, they create the impossible odds. Does this make sense? All right. I am going to Disney World for my birthday. I've wanted to do that for a while, but we had our little health challenge here. And so 6 of us are going. And we've rented this amazing condo. And so I told everybody, of course, here's my birth date. And let's celebrate it. We're going to Disney World for my birthday. Well, 2 other people in our group out of the 6 happen to have the exact same birthday, exact same date. I don't know anybody who has my exact birthday. They're usually the 9th or the 8th or whatever, but they're not the 10th. What are the odds of that? So my friend ran it. He says it's 0.08% out of whatever, odds that could happen. Is it? I don't think it's unusual that we all came together. Things align in frequencies. So here's what I want you to understand right now. Those impossible odds that are out there are created on a planet that doesn't believe in miracles, that miracles, why do we call them miracles? Because they don't happen very often. When do they happen? When people release their control and they go into a state of belief and they just let go. The ego stops controlling things. They don't have the limiting thoughts. They don't have the, oh, I don't deserve this. So they go into a space of the quantum field where everything's possible and there are no odds there. There are just probabilities. And therefore that impossible miracle happens. But we call it a miracle because we live in such a limiting world that we don't believe those things can happen every day, yet they can. In fact, we could break through all the fear here, all the limitations, all the stuff that stops you from creating something amazing here that you desire. We can break through all of that and there will be no odds anymore that are ever against you. And the collective, when they figure out that we are all powerful creators at every moment and there's nothing that we can't do, be, or have, all those odds against the probabilities coming into your life get blown out the window. Does this make sense to you? Yeah? Does it? We create the odds because we are limiting ourselves because we live in fear and we don't believe. Therefore, of course, it's impossible because we don't all win the lottery. We don't all have certain things happen for us. We don't all get that one job. But all those probabilities exist. I did a video on Helen Hadsell, the contest queen. She won over 5,000 prizes, contests, from cars to houses to trips, you name it. Millions of dollars worth of stuff. What are the odds? Impossible, right? It's impossible to do that. No, it's not. She didn't believe that. So therefore, there were no odds for her. She created. All you have to do is create. If the probability exists, you can shift into it. You don't bring it to you. It doesn't attract to you. You either tune into it and you are it, or you believe something different about it. I can't have that person in my life. And remember, we're not talking about infringing on free will. I'm talking about, like, sometimes she wanted a prize. She didn't always get exactly the same thing, but it got calculated. Let's just say it would align so that it would eventually happen. She wanted a prize to go to Paris. She won one to New York instead, plus got cash. So she cashed in everything and got the trip to Paris. She made it happen. But the prizes that she got aligned her to do that. It won't always happen exactly the way your ego thinks because your ego has limiting thoughts. So you got to let that go. I do things that are so against the odds, it isn't funny. I don't look at that. I know if it's a probability, I can create it. And I know that I'm looking at the odds based on limiting minds out there that think it can't be done. My odds are yes. What are the odds I can get it done? 1 in 1. Yeah? You want to come join me? You can think like this. My students doing crazy things. Now here's the other side of this. We didn't come here just to sit and manifest amazing stuff. We're learning how to do that. We're coming in from unconsciousness of believing we have no power and fear, low frequency, and we're learning how to come out of that. And that's the adventure and the journey out of that is part of it too. So you cannot learn how to heal yourself if you haven't been ill. So we have to have the counterpart of that. We have to have that other side, that contrast, in order to know how to manipulate it. We have to have the clay in the first place to create the pot. And so when you first make a pot, have you ever made a pot? Woo! Yeah, and then, it falls off the turntable or it's crooked. And then it gets better and better and better and you refine it. Is that pot in that clay possible? Is that perfect pot in there? Yes. It's a probability. And you can do it. So it may take a little while for you to do it and figure it out. That's the learning and adventure of life that you go through. So then you're creating the pot, you're learning how to work with it, a little bit more water, a little less water, and finally you get it perfect. That probability existed, it always did. And if you don't believe that, you'll never get the perfect pot. You'll quit, or the clay will dry out because you didn't take care of it. Any number of things will happen. But if you know that perfect pot is in that clay, you will and can create it. This is how it works. You can create it. Do you want to live in that world? I live in that world. And when things don't unfold perfectly, like the ego would like, I step back and I go, okay, that's not it. There's something else showing up. And sure enough, and a lot of times it's timing. We're very impatient. The ego is very impatient. I'm a very impatient person, but I've learned to observe that and say, okay, in due time, what am I going to do between now and when that shows up? Because I know the probability exists. I know it's showing up because I'm not questioning it. I don't have any 1 in a million shot thoughts in my head based on the collective's fears. I don't have those fears. All right, the other stuff that shows up, I just view it, I observe it, I work through it, and I open the gateways to it. My students do this. You guys have seen this. If you're signed up for my free email course, you get all kinds of cool stuff that helps you to understand that every thought you have is creating. So all probabilities exist. There are no odds. None. Only fear does that. When we break through fear, we use it. It's powerful. It's a motivator. Fear's a motivator for you. Isn't that wonderful? You can use it to get a real thrill out of life. As I said, jumping out of a plane wouldn't be very exciting if you didn't have the fear first. Petrified. And you break through it. You jump out of the plane and it's thrilling and scary at the same time. You can use fear. It's not a negative thing. It's just a contrast. It's just contrast. We allow it to take over, and that's an imbalance. But when you have the fear, it motivates. You learn. You come out of unconsciousness into consciousness, and then you see the unconsciousness, and then you affect the unconsciousness that's still walking around out there that thinks that there's some odds against them. So it's not this lottery, it's something else that shows up that's better than a lottery. But we always say, it has to be the lottery. I didn't win the lottery. I'm saying, no, there's something else for you, but you're not opening yourself up to it because you are so in control of everything via the ego that you won't allow anything else as those probabilities are cut off. So, it's an inheritance or it's something else. I didn't win the lottery. And not everyone will win that one lottery. They will have any number of things show up that keep a balance out there. Because if everybody won the lottery, there would be no lottery. Right? What would be the point if everybody won it? That's the whole point, is diversity and all these beautiful things that come to us in different ways. There's 101 things. You might gain your millions of dollars because you came up with a great idea and changed the world. Maybe you had your own business, but you had to explore that. You had to go into living life to find that and be a creator. And then all of a sudden you make millions, you go, I didn't need the lottery. In fact, this is better because now I'm a business owner, I'm changing lives, I'm doing things. So you allow that to play out in a beautiful way that's even greater than you can imagine. We're going to explore this more and more. My whole channel is about no limits. You have no limits, but you are on a journey and you did choose it. And when you have acceptance, you can enjoy it and change anything. Right? You can't listen to classical music if you are dialed into rock and roll. You have to change the frequency to rock and roll, and then boom, you're listening to it. You don't attract it to you. I don't believe in law of attraction. I believe that people distorted what that means. Like attracts like. It just means you're going into the frequency of that which you desire, because you here cannot bring something into a different frequency. You have to shift your frequency into it, and that means letting go of all your limitations. throw the odds out the window. It's created by a fearful species, because the probability exists and you can do it, and you allow it to come in whatever way, shape, form in its own time. And that's the beauty of the universe, because there's no such thing as time anyways. If you want to come into my free video series, I have 2 amazing classes. Breakthrough Fear, it's a lifetime course with weekly coaching that's changing lives. I also have a course called Activate Your Magic. It's advanced manifesting. So if you feel like you're pretty good with the fear thing, advanced manifesting does help you with that, because fear is a barrier. That's usually why people aren't manifesting that which they desire. You can take that course, and it's monthly coaching for a year, and you learn, everything you learn is why you're not manifesting things you desire, how to work with that, how to shift completely out of where you are, go into a different frequency, and we eventually manifest without a thought. That's the ultimate goal of advanced manifesting. You don't have to think anymore. It's pretty exciting. It takes several lessons to get to that, and we work on it. We have practices and mastery and meditations and all kinds of exercises and cool stuff in there. So if you're interested, you can sign up, go to my website, or sign up for my email. You'll have an opportunity to take a look at that. Everyone's welcome to manifest anything. Not everyone is invited into Breakthrough Fear. I want to make sure it's a good fit for us. I want to see you just knocking it out of the park here and having a ball, just discovering what you are, because you are whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Please subscribe. My subscriber base goes up and down and up and down. Get off the conspiracy channels. Come on over here, because you can create anything. See you there. Namaste.